Welcome to today's webinar, AI Interview as a Coach. My name is Ryan Deal and I'm with Expedient, a cloud, data center, and AI company. By now, most of us understand how to use AI for the obvious things, writing content, analyzing data, automating tasks. These are powerful applications, but they are just the beginning. Today, we want to show you a completely different way to leverage AI as an interviewer and a coach. This technique can draw out information and insight from individuals or entire teams you might never discover through traditional methods or the dreaded "how was your day" small talk. Think about it. AI can conduct personalized conversations that adapt and ask follow-up questions based on responses. It can explore topics deeply with individuals while also providing the structure and consistency you need for team-wide insights without putting the awkward silence when someone says, "Any questions?" The applications are broad, from helping individuals to thinking through career development and daily priorities, to systematically gathering insights from sales teams, conducting project debriefs, or assessing skills across departments. AI interviews transform how effectively you can surface the knowledge and insights that already exist inside of your organization. No mind reading required. With that, let me hand it over to Jeff to demonstrate exactly how this works.
Thanks, Ryan, and thank you to all our webinar attendees for taking time out of your busy day to hear about AI. We're grateful to have you with us. Again, my name is Jeff Tyree. I am on the Expedient AI control team, and today we're going to talk about the power of AI interviews. And before we dive into the demo, let me share why these conversations are so powerful. Think about a book that really impacted you, one that stuck with you and changed how you see things. Now, compare that reading of the book to reading a summary of the same book. The summary might give you the key points, but it doesn't stick with us the same way, does it? It doesn't create those lasting connections in your mind or shift how you think about the world. Good conversations work exactly like this. When you're asked thoughtful questions and have to work through your own thinking, it creates meaning in a way that just absorbing information never can. Something gets mapped in your brain differently and it becomes part of how you think, not just what you know. And AI interviews tap into this same conversational power. They feel, in many ways, like genuine conversations. The AI adapts, asks follow ups, explores ideas based on how you respond. But here's what's really happening. You're having a conversation with yourself, and the AI is just a really good facilitator. It's endlessly patient, genuinely curious, and never judgmental. So think of it sort of like an exercise, kind of like practicing a speech in the mirror, but having someone with you who's giving you feedback and asking all the right follow up questions. The AI can help you work through your career priorities, surface assumptions you didn't know you had, or recognize patterns you've been living but never really saw. So let's get started with the demo. So to get started, I wanted to say first that when having AI interviews, there's really almost like two different kinds. The first is where you just use a simple prompt and you're having more of a conversation with AI where you are relying on the AI, that is the LLM's model for its general training. So just think of it as having a simple conversation. The other type of conversation or interview that you can have with AI is one where you're using a much more structured, a much more in-depth prompt, a prompt that was prepared ahead of time that really helps guide the AI through the interview and gives it additional context. And I will show both today. We're going to start with a simple, more conversational prompt. And for all of the demos today, I have already completed the interviews, and for the sake of time, I completed them ahead of time, and then we can go over the results. So the first one is using AI to help you construct a personal system prompt. You recall with AI control, if you go up into the header bar here, here's where you can have your system prompt. I've edited mine. It's normally much larger, and it's very basic. I just kind of left in my name and my title, and of course my Hey Apple rule. So there's not much there. And for the first interview, it's about having an interview with AI that's going to help you develop a much more meaningful prompt. So here we go. So here's the first one, and I wanted to show you what the initial prompt was. And I did this one earlier today, and the prompt is simple. It's just interview me about my current job responsibilities, work style, daily challenges, and communication preferences to help create a personalized system prompt. And you can see the response that came back. And then I really spent a lot of time answering in detail the questions above. And then it gave me the results right here. And then what you do with this is really simple. You just simply copy this right here, and then you would go up into the global settings, and here you can just change it. And so now for all future conversations, I have a much more in-depth system prompt that's more related to my role, perhaps things about the company, certainly my communication style. And again, the importance of this type of exercise is that giving AI more information about yourself, your job, your company, means that you get much better information back. So for the next example of using AI to sit for an AI interview, this is one that I use all the time, and I used it this morning. And for this demo, I'm demoing it with things that happen to me in my day-to-day responsibilities here at Expedient. It's a very real interview. It begins like this. I simply asked the AI, I said, interview me about my day ahead to help me think through priorities, energy levels, and how I want to approach key activities. And it asked for quite a few questions. And then I really spent some time to give it very, very accurate and true answers. And here's the neat part about it. It isn't just the AI asking you some questions and then you simply answering. It feels like a conversation, and there are important follow-ups. So it gave me sort of like this first pass of the follow-ups. But then I said this, I said, how should I break my biggest tasks into smaller milestones for today? And using what I had said earlier, it went over some new suggestions. And obviously for today, it's all about prepping for the AI control webinar recording. And it talks about ways that you can take a larger task and kind of break it up to make it more efficient. And some of it really wasn't quite correct. You know, it is a conversation. AI doesn't know everything. It suggested I could do this in 15 to 20 minutes. I wish that I could. So I replied, I said, it takes much longer to prep content. And which of my tasks would give me the biggest momentum boost if done first? And here, the conversation is almost switching into strategies about how you can unlock your full workday potential. So it says, you know, content prep usually takes the most energy and attention. Completing it first will give you clarity and momentum for the rest of your day. Then I replied with this. I said, given this conversation, are there any general tips or best practices you can share around boosting daily work patterns? Use my content for examples. And here I'm just sort of broadening the conversation so that I can basically learn, hey, am I planning my days correctly? Is there anything that I could be doing that's different? And it came back with some really good suggestions. You know, it gave me actionable best practices, including front loading high energy tasks and leaving flex blocks of time. And I replied, that's great. Given the conversation, tell me something about myself and how I work that perhaps I did not know. Make the goal of this to unlock my potential. And it's always a really fun and interesting question to ask AI once you have shared things. Tell me something about myself that I didn't know, because it's very good at spotting patterns and surfacing things that perhaps you're not seeing. And it says this about me that, I consistently identify and sequence high impact tasks, but you may underestimate the energy and cognitive load required for deep content creations. So it gives me some insights. Then I replied, I said, how can I next level deep thinking task? And it gave some suggestions. So these are tips that include time box and isolate, prep environment, externalizing thinking, all really good stuff. Then this is where it got both interesting and I think very valuable for me. I said, great ideas. Um, but I think starting the day with a quick scan of external commitments is valuable because it was suggesting up here that, I need to just begin my day immediately with deep thinking task. And so I'm giving it a little bit of pushback. And that's the thing. AI isn't something that you obviously need to obey. It's a tool that allows you to think, and you need to engage with it. And it agreed with me. That's a strong move. A quick morning scan of external commitments clarifies non-negotiables and prevents surprises. And then I expanded the conversation a little bit more because I am genuinely curious about this. I said right here, I said, what is this problem called, this tension between doing the work and communication? Because I think we all have that in a day to day workflow, that tension between getting things done and then all of the communication overhead around it. And it replied by saying that this is called context switching and task fragmentation. And it gave me a resource, someone I have not heard of, Paul Graham's essay. And then I just asked it just to follow up with perhaps additional things that I could look at. So that's a great example of how an AI, sitting for an AI interview can be a useful day-to-day planning tool, but it also really gets you thinking about your day, gets you thinking about best practices and how you can next level yourself to boost productivity. Okay, so next up, we'll be switching gear. The first two AI interviews were about just asking a simple question and having a conversation. Next, I just wanted to show you a example of a interview technique that goes a little bit further, where you're pasting in a prepared, structured prompt, something that is planned ahead of time. Perhaps you do it and everybody on your team does it. And it's a way of when I say structure, just having a standardized conversation so that it's producing standardized output as well. And for this one, it's based upon the idea of having a conversation with AI in preparation for a one-on-one meeting with your team leader. So here is the prompt. It says you are conducting a pre-one-on-one interview with a team leader to help them prepare for their upcoming meeting with their manager. So you're telling the AI, hey, someone's going to be sitting with you, help them plan for their meeting with their team leader. And it gives specific things to ask. If I sat for this, it was a long interview. It's all real and about my day. I asked the questions. It gave me follow-up questions as well. And then what made this really impactful is it's really two things. It's the one that I said at the intro. It's this idea of how the act of the meeting itself makes you prepare for something much, much more. It's just like rehearsal. I think we all understand that. And it gets you thinking. So obviously, I don't think you should do this type of exercise right before going into a one-on-one, but if you did it in the morning and then you had more time to reflect upon it, I think that it would add tremendous value. Because again, the value proposition here is that you're using AI to help you prep for something, and it's giving you the room and the space to think about something using AI as a really, really great listener so that when you go in for the real meeting, it's kind of like not, it doesn't feel like the first time that you're having that conversation. And it's going to boost the quality of that conversation tremendously. Okay, so the next example, this is my favorite. It's again, what I call a structured interview approach, where you are pasting in. This would be what is pasted. You're pasting in an already prepared, a pre-prepared prompt that's going to guide the AI in giving you a structured interview. And here's the prompt. It's worth going over here because there's a lot here. It says you are an AI conducting a sales pipeline interview using Sandler methodology. Start the interview immediately without explaining the setup. It gives some instructions for how to begin the interview, and then it has the interview rules. Ask one question at a time, wait for the response before asking the next question, keep it conversational and supportive, don't reveal your evaluation framework. And then it describes the flow as well. Get them to talk about the biggest deal, ask what makes you confident this will close, listen for pain decision maker access, budget discussions, and there are a few other questions as well. And then finally, it just says after gathering the info, provide a summary with deal assessment, red flags, and next steps. So you can see what's going on here. In this example, this would be something prepared by perhaps a sales team leader, where the team leader wants everyone to sit for a structured interview to describe how a deal is going. And here's how the interview went. So it obviously began according to its instructions. Hey, good to see you. Tell me about your biggest opportunity right now, the deal you're most excited about. And of course, it's Acme Industrial Solutions. And the interview is going to unfold. You can see it happening here. It felt very real, even though in this case, this is fictitious information. But it arrives at the deal summary and it asks, it sort of repeated it back. This would be an opportunity for me to perhaps add information or provide a correction. And then it asks if I would like a summary prepared. And of course, I say yes. And here it is. This is the summary, and it's a structured summary. And that's the value of this. I could then send this along or share this with the team. And it's a way of getting me to both think through the proper way to look at a deal. And that's really, I think, part of this type of interview. You are learning how to conduct business according to the organizational and team standards. And it's also a way of then preparing this information and sharing it. So I could then do something with this output. And in this case, I did. I took this output and then using AI control, I went in and changed the settings and I selected the two RAG sources. These are our own internal documents that AI has access to. And then I asked the AI, I simply said, help me prep for a deal with Acme and focus on DR solutions. So it took the results of the interview where I'm describing the deal, and then it applied it to new information, which would be all of the information about Expedient's disaster recovery solutions, our value propositions, great case studies, and it is below. I'm going to go past it quickly. And that's just because I am not on the sales team, and I don't know if there are in-house case studies or not, because it did cite case studies. So I just don't know. But what is wonderful about this, though, is it took the conversation and it gave me really great things to think about. And it basically allowed me to form a meeting plan, which was similar to last week's webinar. So that's the demo. For today, I covered how AI interviews combine conversational depth with systematic data collection. And I tried to explain how there's really almost like two types of AI interviews, one that's conversational and another one that's structured. And by structured, there is a pre-prepared and in-depth prompt. And then you can see how you can apply this both at the personal level and use it for things like coaching, or at the team or management level where you are learning how to perform an action according to the organizational methods and flow, and also how to produce information out of the interview that you can then share. So I hope you found this useful. Again, thank you for your time joining us today. And Ryan, back to you.
All right. Well, Jeff, thank you. That was fantastic. Just another way and a use case to use AI. Really, a way you may not even think about as a coach. It's just a really a way to make yourself better, your team better. So, right now, if you've got a question, please put it in there. We have some time set aside for all of these to just kind of answer some questions based upon Jeff's demo. So, Jeff, the first question is, what exactly is an AI interview, and how is it different from a chatbot?
Yeah, Ryan. So that's a great question. And, I think it's important to first say they're both conversations with a model. But what's different is with an interview, you're turning that conversation around. I think so often we're very used to using AI like an answer machine. You go, you ask it a question, you get an answer, maybe you have a conversation from there. But with using AI as an interview, the AI is the one asking the questions. And what's really powerful about that is because it has all of its training, it can ask really, really smart questions, perhaps questions that you're not thinking about. So it still is just a tool where you are still interviewing and having a conversation with yourself, but the tool allows you to think about things and uncover things that perhaps you've never thought of before.
Sure. No, no, it's a great point. You have those moments in, with work or even in your personal life where you want to ask yourself questions or focus on how to get better. And this really gives you a tool to help you do that. So when looking at AI being a coach, do you think it can replace the human element of coaching?
No, not at all. So first of all, I am on Team Human and I love how AI can enhance and make us stronger. And with this, and I talked about it a little bit in the demo, it's a lot like practicing in the mirror, or if anybody has done any type of performance where you practice, or even practicing on a sports team, it's that act of practicing that strengthens you. And using AI interviews, it's just another way to practice. Maybe you need to practice ahead of a difficult interview, or maybe just practice just to strengthen your skills in general. We all know about standing in front of the mirror and practicing a speech. It's a lot like that, but with AI, you have this really wonderful, very patient listener, the best listener of all, who isn't going to judge you at all and ask really, really great follow-up questions.
Sure, sure. So with those questions and the answers, are the interview answers, how do you turn those into usable outputs, like for summaries or agendas, especially when we're focusing on the work element?
Yeah, so that's one aspect that I love about AI, how you can transform whatever the conversation is, you can transform it to another form. So in one of the examples, I discussed prepping for a one-on-one meeting. So in that example, you're sitting for an AI interview, it's asking specific questions, but it can be transformed simply by asking AI to summarize it. So, hey, give me a summary of this conversation, and then you can share that summary. So that's really one great way. And then the neat thing too is on the receiving end. So let's say you're a team leader and everybody's sending you interviews about a topic. Everybody sends in their summaries. That team leader could then take all of those and use AI as well to aggregate that, to formulate additional intelligence, and then reshare it back. Like, hey, team, this is what we're all talking about. Here are the critical issues that are surfaced in your interview. So it's all about the transformation, which I love.
No, absolutely. No, it takes me back to when you're in any sort of team building event where maybe they'll pass around a note card and a pen and you put it all into a box of things you'd like to see change. You can really use AI for that change and to actually give you input back from kind of a third party.
That's right.
Yeah, no, that's excellent. So another question from the audience is, where do you see any AI interviews making the most significant impact in sales, training, or in team coaching?
Yeah, so I think the greatest impact is any type of team effort, like the sales training example. In that example, it was sitting for a Sandler interview where you would ask, where the AI would answer, where the AI would ask questions about a deal. And what I like about that is you're basically learning more about what's important and getting additional training through the questions themselves. I am not in sales, but it was asking me, really poignant questions that get you thinking about what the expedient sales process is, the type of questions that need to be asked. And all of that both gathers information, but it also sort of educates all of the users on what the best methods are. And then obviously we mentioned that aspect of transformation where you can take the results of that interview and have it summarized and then shared throughout your organization.
Sure. And now, when you're looking at your organization, how does this help scale best practices across a large team or an entire organization?
Yeah, so if everybody is sitting for structured interviews and then they submit and summarize, that can go to team leaders and then they can transform the results of those interviews. So uh, it's like having one-on-one coaching and consultation. A team leader can't always be right there to do a one-on-one to ask, hey, why do you think that this is a good deal? What about this deal do you think means that you can invest more time in it? They can't always be there for that, but the interview itself with the questions that it can ask, as well as all of the context that you can put within the prompt about follow-up questions, that does a lot of education, and that in itself scales tremendously across an org.
Sure. We've got just 1 minute left, Jeff, and we've got one more question. Any quick example about an AI interview, how that could be helped for day planning or pre-one-on-one prep?
So I think that the day planning one is a great way to start. I remember the first time I started using AI, basically sitting for AI interviews. It asks such great questions, and I think we can all be in a place where we think we know our day, we think we know our ways, right? How we want to structure the day, but it will ask such specific questions that a lot of times it can expose to you new methodologies of thinking. You don't know what comes out from it. So I particularly love the day planning because it's like I'm very used to how I structure my day and plan my day, but AI can bring in all of these other techniques and really sort of see your own patterns about how you're planning your day and give you perhaps alternatives. And honestly, it's very difficult, I think, for all of us to sort of see ourselves. That's oftentimes, I think, very, very hard. AI is very good at sort of spotting those types of patterns and then surfacing them for you. And
Sure.
it's done just in a really powerful way.
Yeah, it gives you another perspective without needing another person. You could use AI for that other perspective. So, Jeff, thank you so much. That was great. And if anyone has additional questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. We're more than happy to take those offline. And we will be back next week for our next webinar where we will be looking at how AI can help you win RFP. So, how AI can help with those proposals and give you a winning RFP response. That'll be next Wednesday, September 10th at 12:30. Thanks everyone for joining, and thanks, Jeff, for a great demo. Everyone have a great day.
Thank you.